Welcome to Savage Lab. What's happening? Thanks for joining us here. I'm here with Wayne and Chad, and we're all kind of remote today, except for me in the actual Savage Lab. Chad is joining us over the phone, and Wayne is on Skype at his fancy house.
Oh, super fancy.
Fancy.
Super
Fancy
fancy.
pants.
So what are we talking about today?
Yeah, Chad. I mean, Johnny Cage. I mean, Chad.
Oh, we're talking about Tomi Lahren. Eh?
That's a fashionable way to say her name.
Is that how you say it? Is it Loren or how do you say it, Wayne?
Lahren.
Lahren?
Lahren.
Tomi
I believe.
Lahren.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
All right.
Actually,
I
getting
don't know.
suspended from her TV network.
And we're going to talk about that right after the intro. And welcome back. So Wayne sent me an article about this whole story. So Wayne, can you fill us in? Who's Tomi Lahren?
And Chad. Tomi Lahren is she's a conservative political analyst, if you will, or political commentator, I believe is the correct term. And she is employed by The Blaze. She is a 24-year-old sparky, articulate, intelligent, and very, very beautiful 24-year-old woman, but also is a bit of a spark plug and definitely teeters on the edge of offensive in terms of her rhetoric politically. And I think that's all by design, obviously. And some of those comments when she was going on to some more liberal publications have gotten her in some trouble with her home television network.
Well, yeah.
So what did
she's,
she from what I saw, she went on The View and she made at the very end, and from what I saw it was like 10 seconds, like 20 seconds maybe, talking
Correct.
about her pro-choice stance as a conservative woman, which is does not toe the line in terms of the Blaze TV, right? In terms of their outlook.
Apparently, I believe that. Well, she was actually questioned by one of the View hosts on her stance regarding abortion, and I think that's what spurred her to address the topic. Although she didn't come out and state it.
No, she did. She said, "I'm pro-choice."
Absolutely, she did not initiate that conversation.
No. She was asked. Correct.
Yeah, she's
but do we know if she had stated that same position publicly before, or was that the first time?
I believe
Probably
that she
not.
Yeah, she had flopped on the issue. She had stated it briefly publicly before, but yeah, this was probably on a nationally televised publication. You're gonna catch some more backlash than if you're just saying it to some.
Well, here's the thing. So The View, I don't know if anyone has ever seen The View in terms of on this show, really, but it's basically a bunch of really liberal chicks on there, and then they might have a token conservative lady on there every now and then, but they're pretty heavily liberal folks. So when you go on a show like that and you're pro-Trump, but at the same time you're pro-life as a or pro-choice as a conservative, they're probably going to ask you about that. That would seem like a given to me. I don't know.
Correct. I think they positioned it in the interview. The dynamics of the interview was they were trying to establish some common ground with her in order to create a solidarity between the women, the ladies on the show,
right?
Which eventually ended up getting her in trouble. Now, I mean, for those of you who don't know the Blaze TV network who employs her, that was started by Glen Beck. And Glen Beck is, traditionally he's been a conservative political commentator, formerly of CNN back in 2006, spent almost 3 years, I believe, on Fox News from like 2008 to 11. In 2011, he started The Blaze, which was an internet-based television network, and then ended up signing Tomi shortly after she graduated from college. knowing that she's obviously a political firecracker, very attractive woman, and her narrative generally tends to be very, very conservative, for some historical perspective. She even tweeted that the Black Lives Matter movement was the new KKK, and stated that their goals were far from equality. She later deleted that tweet, but didn't issue an apology for it, I don't believe.
So was she working for the Blaze when that happened? Because that would seem like something that might get you suspended, not stating your position on abortion.
That's the reason I bring it up. Obviously, this
compare another movement to the KKK. That's pretty. Not that Black Lives Matter is the best thing ever, in my opinion, but I would not compare them to the KKK.
That is the most outlandishly ridiculous comparison that I've seen in a long time. She obviously did it for attention. Oh, go ahead, Chad.
She worked at the Blaze during that. There was like a change.com or change.org petition to try to get her fired, and it failed. But
yeah. But as soon as she doesn't placate to the conservative narrative, that ends up getting her suspended. Which, from my perspective, I don't know how you gentlemen feel about this.
Well, let me just say something about being a conservative. There's many different levels of conservatism, I guess one could say, and the conservative branding is pretty broad, to be honest with you, because you could be a fiscal conservative and a social liberal. You could be hardcore conservative like Mr. Beck, even though he's a registered independent, which doesn't make any sense to me. But so there's plenty of conservatives out there that are gay, that are obviously pro-choice. It's just overall your politics in general, what you identify with, you may be a conservative, but there's some certain issues that maybe you are not a traditional conservative, I guess you could say, right?
Right. I think the qualitative number on the number of conservatives that are pro-life is 68%, which means 32% of Republicans identify themselves as pro-choice.
Which is a pretty big number. I mean,
you wouldn't expect that be the case, but yes. So I don't have a problem with her actually taking this position on it. And personally,
I don't think that being suspended for stating your position on a specific issue is a bad thing. Oh, looks like we might have lost Chad. Anyway, I'll just see if I can call him back. But what's gonna be served by a suspension? She's suspended for a week or something, right?
Correct. So I think she's suspended for a week. This might be more in depth because apparently her contract with the Blaze is up in September this year. And this might be a ploy. Welcome back, Chad. So her contract is up. She might be leaving the network, the Blaze, in September, probably to go join Fox News.
I was gonna say she'll probably go to Fox.
That's what I think. She is awfully young, and she's one of those people that definitely takes public positions in order to promote her individual narrative, which conflicts with a lot of what the Republican Party stands for as a whole. There's usually within the Republican Party a sense of unity on nearly all issues. And individuality, as you've seen here, is definitely, typically revoked by the masses. And she's received.
I don't think that's an accurate statement, because if 32% of conservatives are pro-choice, then that's obviously not unification on that particular issue, right?
Not that issue, but generally speaking, even if you are pro-choice, you don't speak about it publicly, and you don't push that narrative as Republicans. I've never seen Republicans outlandishly state that they're and that they have a position that's against the majority of the party. That's what
It seems kind of weird to me. But, honestly, I don't know of any on television that have publicly said that. I'm sure there are.
I'm sure there are, but this is why it doesn't
you have to
happen.
understand Glenn Beck. If Glenn Beck is a super religious person as well. His position on abortion is pretty firm in the pro-life arena, but it just seems really odd that she would be suspended over that.
Well, her main point, Tommy's main point, was that it was hypocritical for her to say that state that the government meddle and not meddle in majority of affairs, and that Republicans typically reach out for a smaller government, and then to enact the government to get involved with women's issues such as abortion.
Yeah. It depends on, again, if you're pro-life, the position isn't necessarily of the woman specifically. It's more of the unborn child, right? And the rights of that individual who basically has no rights according to things as they are currently. So
sure, it's all based on stance.
So so as somebody who is ultra conservative or super religious in the sense, because I'm sure there's liberals that are pro-life as well, that position would be that that child is a human being, and by aborting it, you are committing murder.
Okay, yeah. I definitely don't think that is an issue. I don't know, because it's still.
I'm just trying to clarify that's from what I've seen on this particular issue. That's the testimony that you would receive usually from somebody of a pro-life status is that it's not necessarily a woman's body issue. It's a human rights issue of the unborn child. Does that make sense?
It does, but how can someone be considered a person?
Well, that's the debate, right? When does a person become a person?
Sure, and that's it's subjective, right? We're not here, regardless of whichever side you're on. Typically, if you speak out against the traditional party narrative, you end up, being subjected to this type of backlash.
Well, I could see that on another issue. I don't see that as being something that generally happens with abortion.
It crosses into that religious realm.
That's why I think this has all gone down.
That's why I'm kind of glad it hasn't been in the news much. Just that I don't think it's something that the government should even be involved with. Really, or at least the federal government. It's
a state issue.
It's a lightning rod.
Yeah, totally. I agree with that. And the federal, and that is, she did point out some conservative or Republican hypocrisy there. Whereas you're for limited government and don't want the government meddling, but at the same time you want them to dictate something like this, which is pretty much the exact opposite. So
sure.
And I tend to agree with that. I think it would be much better regulated at the state level, but
So in general, do you guys have a problem with this? Do you guys have a problem with her being suspended, or do you think this is like a publicity?
If the Blaze wants to suspend her because they, I just don't understand what it's going to accomplish. If it's for a week or whatever, yeah, maybe there's some contractual stuff coming up, whatever. But still, she's going to be back in a week. Like, what, is all of a sudden her position on that going to change in a week? I don't think so. So I don't understand the point. Yeah, what do you think, Chad?
I think it's silly.
Yeah, I think it's...
If you're going to suspend them, it's like, why not just fire her if you're that upset about it?
Exactly. I mean, you suspend somebody for, stealing somebody's lunch out of the company fridge or something. You don't suspend them because of their opinion, It seems ridiculous.
Yeah. I generally tend to agree with you guys, and I think that things that she's done in the past should have landed her with a pink slip a long time ago.
In bigger trouble for sure. Yeah.
That's why I brought it up. I generally tend to think that, unless there's public outlash, there was some public outlash with this, but it was all from one side, right? So the conservative narrative wasn't questioned.
Well, that's one of the things. So, like, when you go on when you're on a show like The View, and it's polar opposites there between.
That's why they do it.
And yeah. So what do you do? Because I mean, if you say anything, you're going to get suspended by Glen Beck. If you don't say anything, you're going to get chastised by the left and the people on that panel.
She's better off getting chastised by the left. I mean,
yeah, absolutely, but
case.
Yeah.
So, I mean, let it be known to any narrative placating political commentators out there that you will be subjected to your party's wrath if you disagree. How dare you disagree? Silence is golden. Way to pick it up there, boys.
Yeah, Chad.
I was just contemplating how deep this conversation was.
Super deep. Yeah, it's a cool topic. Ultimately, I don't think it's not gonna hurt her in the end, and I think
this chick's gonna be just fine. And she's got all the conservative American males drooling over her on their keyboards, hanging on her every word, her every, controversial position on whatever. They don't even care. Half the guys probably watch the show because she's extremely physically attractive. I mean, let's not get it twisted here, right? That's why people are clicking on this video right now.
Because of this.
Yep. Boom.
Yeah, and we're gonna have an update on Wayne's tattoo here coming up too. So stay tuned for all that. All right. Well, do we want to talk about this anymore, or are we done with this one for now?
I think we're done with this one. I think it's stupid. Done. I think that political narratives are too, suffocating to individualists' views, and I'd like to see more people speaking out, like Tomi, on what they believe, regardless of what political party they affiliate themselves with.
Yeah. Again, I just think that if you take into account her employer on this one, I can see that, but she said some other stuff that's way worse than that. That's just
go find a better employer, girl. Watch your mouth. Don't relate liberal, positions to the KKK, and you're gonna do real well for yourself there.
Wayne sends his hugs and kisses.
I'll send her more than that. She wants it. Send her a nice. No.
A box of chocolates.
A box of chocolates. Send her a nice debate. I'll debate her live on this show if she wants.
You want to debate her? She'll tear you up. I watched her. She's good. She held her own with those old ladies on The View, man.
She can't hold her own with a tattooed savage. That's all I'm going to say.
All right, bunch of women. She could hold her own with a bunch of women, but a man.
Well, I didn't say that.
Oh, a savage man.
Goodness gracious. Chad getting all the
hate mail goes to chad.com.
Yep.
Yep. That's my URL. Not.
All right. Anyway, so we're going to get out of here. Thanks for watching, folks. Please subscribe to the channel below. Like the video if you like it. Dislike it if you don't like Wayne, Chad, or myself. Yeah, and this show is on iTunes, so if you want to listen to it in your car while you're driving to work or just doing whatever around the house, be sure to subscribe on iTunes. And we're out. Stay savage.
Stay savage. Chuckles.
Peace.